Strangest extinct creatures ever found by Extinct Zoo. I'm planning to scare myself. Can you tell?
To become fossilized is such an extremely rare thing that we can only dream it will happen to one of us. So unsurprisingly, fossils are relatively speaking quite uncommon. However, at the end of the day, Earth has still seen tons of life come and go. I mean, after all, right at this very second, quintillions of animals are sharing the planet with us. So it's not hard to see why fossils still end up being very numerous, and entire industries exist around them. And yet, given their sheer total numbers, fossil finds typically happen to be rather normal in the sense that we've seen them before. And even when they do represent a new species, they generally fall under something we've already dealt with. For example, a new dinosaur being some species of hadrosaur. It's really quite seldom that we do actually make a discovery that is both new and mind-boggling. But it has happened more than once, and there are a few animals that have left paleontologists pretty much just scratching their heads, unsure of what they've stumbled upon, even to this day. And there's perhaps no better case than this than the Tully monstrum, lovingly nicknamed the Tully monster. And monster honestly might be the closest you'll get to figuring out what this thing was, because it was not only terrifying and crazy looking, but also confusing. Its modern story started all the way back in 1966, when an amateur collector was exploring the Carboniferous Mason Creek Formation in Illinois.
Oh
During his
gosh.
expedition, he stumbled upon not
Not
one,
Illinois.
but multiple strange fossils that he could tell were organisms, but of what kind, he had no clue. And even after collecting a few and studying them more closely, he still could not gather a guess. So he decided to get an
Of course
expert's
it's
opinion
Illinois.
and take them to the Field Museum of Natural History. But to his surprise, they were just as stumped as he was, being absolutely perplexed by the odd
I
features of
visit
this
there
new
all the
creature,
time.
which included a cigar-like body, triangle fins, long stalked eyes, and a proboscis-tipped mouth, making it kind of look like an animal straight out of Subnautica, a horrifying one at that, with the only saving grace being its small stature, with most of the fossils being under 35 centimeters or 14 inches long. Now, unsurprisingly, its sheer oddness attracted a lot of attention, both domestically and internationally. And yet, even then, with many researchers looking at it, no one could come up with a good idea of what it was, with different guesses including that it was a mollusk, arthropod, conodont, worm, tunicate, or just some kind of vertebrate. The only thing they could really all agree upon was that it almost certainly lived in water, as though Illinois is nicknamed the Prairie State. Hundreds of millions of years ago, it was submerged by a shallow tropical sea. And given where the Tully monster specimens were found, it's presumed to have been an open marine organism that would occasionally
Hey,
be
I'm
swept
just
onto the
reacting
shore,
to stuff.
and thus leading to its multiple groupings, and the idea that it was free swimming. In other words, not clamped to the seafloor
Pretty
or
much,
any
I'm trying to
structure.
scare myself
And
with
from then
stuff,
to
and this is
now,
kind of
nearly 90
shallow,
years
not
later,
very
we
scary.
really don't know much more. Heck, we've pretty much only concluded that they are bilaterians, which honestly doesn't say much considering how immensely broad this classification is, seeing that, literally 98% of all animals fall under it. And along the way, while a few have claimed to have figured this strange creature out, nothing has stuck. But on the bright side, we do think we know a bit more about its lifestyle now, with scientists suggesting that its odd mouth rendered it a carnivore who hunted in the ocean's water columns and preferred muddy waters. But beyond that, the dude's a mystery. And oddities out of the US of A do not end in Illinois, as it was in Montana that a fossil was located in the 70s, which was so unlike anything seen before that it was simply dubbed an alien goldfish. This was the Typhlosis. This remarkable find came out of the Bear Gulch Limestone Formation, and happened to be even more ancient than the Tully monster, dating to the Serpicovian age some 330 million years ago. And the fossil was so confusing to researchers that it actually went underreported for a very long time, as no one wanted to deal with the headache of trying to figure out what it was. And the only real lead they had was that its body was swindle-shaped, teeny-tiny, and possessed one single tail at the end, suggesting, like our friend Tully, it could swim on its own. But besides this, nada. Well, actually there was more, but it really only set scientists back more, adding just head-aching amounts of confusion, as it had no other exterior appendages, lacked a midsection, or anus, and literally had an organ that was never seen before or since, which is now dubbed a ferrodiscus. And yeah, we have no clue of what it does, except that it held high concentrations of iron. And so, what do you do when something is very old and super strange? Well, you find an equally bizarre family, and then cram it in there. In this case, the conodonts, a group of jawless vertebrates found virtually everywhere. And this claim wasn't too outlandish, as paleontologists have been thrown a bone, after discovering a brand new specimen with conodont-like teeth, a great sign that it might have been one after all. And briefly, scientists were able to take a breather. However, things were soon upended, as one researcher realized these teeth did not belong to the alien goldfish, but rather represented something it ate, as they were located in its guts, and thus putting us back to square one, except with the added information that we're now pretty sure it was a carnivore. Sadly, this new info remained the only update on Typhlosis for 3 decades. But it was finally interrupted by a groundbreaking statement in 2022 that Typhlosis was maybe, not for sure, but just maybe, a, drumroll please, mollusk. Now, you may want to sit down for this part, but this claim came after the discovery that it had a toothy tongue that it shot at prey from its, guts. Yeah, sounds kind of out there. Yet it turns out that some animals today do something a bit like this, namely again our friend the mollusks, with their tongue-like structures called radulas, and thus leading to our friend Typhlosis being linked to them. Only problem is, though, that it also has turned out that radulas have evolved independently in non-mollusks too. So, in other words, it may be too early to say what this blob-like cretin really was. This is definitely one of the hardest cases to crack out there at the moment. But hey, at least it's a solo job, as sometimes puzzling fossils come in pairs, and actually in this case, came from the same place as the Tully monster, the Mason Creek Formation. It was here that 2 different fossil discoveries were made that stumped people enough that the best analogies they could come up with was to explain them with a literal alphabet, specifically 2 letters. These fossils would eventually be named Aedicystus and Escumasia, and though not really related, they have become known together as the H and Y animals, respectively. Aedicystus, the H1, was arguably the weirder of the 2 in the looks department, and it really did resemble the letter H, with a weird growth in the middle of it. Now, unsurprisingly, we know very little on why it was shaped like this, or what the functions of its limbs were. Yet researchers guess it might have fed on free-floating particles and organisms, and was likely a colonial animal that grew for the entirety of its life, evidenced by specimens widely varying in size. And besides coming in different sizes, they also seem to have come in different shapes. How fun. As that sac which stuck out could be circle-shaped, heart-shaped, and perhaps some other shapes, so it really depended on the specific individual. And while this is a very big if, researchers think that of all the phylums, it's most probable that Aedicystus belonged to the Hemichordata, which includes things like acorn worms and taro branches. But ironically, its fellow alphabet buddy, the Y-shaped Escumacia, looked in a way more tame than H, but has been so far more problematic, at least taxonomically. This is mainly because it bears some strong similarities to sea anemones, but it has things you don't find in the group, such as bilateral symmetry, a complete gut, and get this, a butt. And thus appending an inclination that we knew what it was. And for now, we can only say that it was an animal, who also had a mouth, mind you, that came in the form of a large slit in between its so-called arms. Yet what these arms did is unknown, and frankly, they might not even be arms. But something we do know is that less than 20% of you guys are subscribed. So if you made it this far, show some love and drop us up. If you haven't pieced it together yet, the Cambrian was a weird time, but somehow there was a period that had it bested and contained life so problematic that researchers simply...
This is just freaking creepy. Ignore this. I'm at 1%. How joyous. This fills me with glee. 1 second. 心が変すら数え事がはらんだ熱どこに送るあてもなく哀れな独り言すれすれいるLet's just look up horror. We got a Dr. Mike video. Don't watch alone? Well, I've got you guys.
2025, a mother reports her child's balloon. After seeing it do something that terrified her immensely, she films the balloon, hoping that it does it again on camera.
That's just airflow. That's just air circulating through the house. Dog, it's not that serious.
For some reason, the balloon comes to a sudden halt near the basement door. Now you might be wondering what is so frightening about this balloon. After all, it appears to be doing normal balloon things. Well, according to Rachel, the mother, this balloon always ends up at the basement entrance, and it doesn't go in unless her son follows it inside. Unlike other instances where the balloon just suddenly stops near the entrance, here it goes all the way in, and it's only when Rachel's son begins to pursue it that it does this. Now, it might be possible that a draft or an airflow is causing the balloon to move towards the basement, but to have it stop only a few feet away from the cellar, despite being left open occasionally, is a bit strange.
Yeah.
Whether it's upstairs or in the furthest corner of the house, it always follows the same path before somehow stopping around the same spot. To Rachel, this
Yeah, kind of weird. Just get rid of the balloon.
Now, these occurrences wouldn't be the last of them, as just recently this happened. It's around 9:30 at night when this was captured.
The dog barking that much is kind of... It's pretty off-putting. Dogs know more than we do. Or they can hear at least. It's moving its legs. I'm not going to say I don't believe in ghosts, because I do. But it just seems really staged
As
or
if
fake.
the incidents before weren't creepy enough, this happens. The balloon seemingly
The
makes
light's
its way
going out.
towards the top of the stairs, directly towards Rachel without stopping. But when it gets to the top, it abruptly stops. Somehow, the natural buoyancy of this balloon ceases, as if acting independently from the laws of physics. It just doesn't move at all. Even the dogs in the background were unsettled by the strange occurrence. Now, it's apparent to the family that something isn't right with this balloon. They know
Get
that
rid of
getting
it.
rid of it would be a good idea, but their son refuses to have it thrown away. So, they continue to keep it. After all, it'll deflate over time and be rendered useless within a few days. However, although initially thinking that things would be okay, something happens that quickly changes their minds. Only a day or two later, Rachel is home alone when she experiences something that she considers as the most disturbing thing ever. It's late at night when this was captured.
Dog, it's not that serious. Just punch it. Hit it. Put a tiny hole in it and tell the son, oh, it accidentally got a hole in it somehow. God. What is that?
At the top of the stairs, in the corner of the doorframe, a forehead is seen.
A
Rachel
forehead?
initially saw something, yet didn't know what it was. But after taking a closer look, she sees it. a forehead that naturally leads down to a pair of eyes. However, if you slow the video frame by frame, you'll notice the supposed face she'd seen. Yet something about it has left Rachel and her husband immensely unsettled. Naturally, Rachel was shaken up. If the balloon hadn't convinced them that something was up with their basement, then this definitely did. Either someone or something is in there. Given all that's happened before, they can't help but think that this was responsible for the balloon's odd behavior. To them, it seems that the path the balloon would always follow wasn't just due to physics, but instead by something else. Now, Rachel has since then locked the basement and won't open it anytime soon. But while there has yet to be a definitive explanation, the mystery still remains. Just what exactly did Rachel and her family witness in their house?
Okay, that is a
All
little
videos,
creepy.
This one
Tiny
remains unsolved.
I'm not spooked. 4.
This next video comes from Elijah Carter, who's a construction worker for a house that's being remodeled. It's been some time now that he's worked on this house, and he's just now realizing something about it that the property owner has never mentioned. In this house lies a hidden crawl space. Apparently, it was hidden behind a stack of drywall that no one had bothered moving until now. Seeing that no one else is around, as it wasn't a workday, he explores the crawl space all by himself. But little does he know that this was a bad idea. The following is Elijah's video. Watch.
But while I came across something that was really cool, and I feel like it sets this house apart. The reason why I'm just not founding this crawl space is because of this drywall. The owner, she had this drywall covering the crawl space. That's not the cool thing about it. And I want y'all to check this out. So, while I was here, I found this table, and I also found this extra space right here. I have a vent right there. I think I just heard some footsteps.
Periwinkle spider. I heard a voice.
What was meant to be a short video for his Facebook group turns into something completely nightmarish. For one, the sound of footsteps was heard on the floorboards, despite no one being there. And eeriest of all, the sound of someone talking and giggling was heard from somewhere inside. But to make things even more frightening, the door to the crawl space begins to open on its own.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Why Elijah bolted out of there at full speed. As it seems, he wasn't alone. Now, if what he says is true, that there weren't any signs of someone being there the next day at work, then the question is begged. Just what exactly did Elijah encounter while being inside this
Just
house?
what exactly did Elijah encounter? 3.
In the following video, a man and his girlfriend are staying over at his aunt's house when they hear a strange noise from downstairs. Mind you, though, that no one else is home.
Guys, this is like really crazy.
Now, he couldn't capture the noise on camera, but there is something in this video that's worth pointing out before mentioning anything else, and that's the house itself. This Victorian home belongs to the man's aunt, who at this time was traveling abroad for a few days. While he was gone, the man, known as Isaac, and his girlfriend stayed over to look after the place and care for the dog.
Aunt is overseas for the week, and she asked me and my girlfriend to watch it. Hey, Auntie.
Now, the only thing in this house that isn't antiquated are the security cameras throughout the place. Although Isaac's aunt isn't home, she still wants to keep an eye on the property. But while looking at one of the cameras late one night, she notices something very strange. She immediately sends the recording to Isaac, who was totally spooked out by what was captured. While his girlfriend was inside a room, this was caught.
Girlfriend's hearing noises downstairs. Imagine hearing noises. So, oh my god, no way. There's airflow? They have
The noise, as it
circulation.
turns out, was just a draft affecting a door. But this one, according to them, doesn't appear to be affected by it, as it closes up differently. The door gently glides, as if someone was closing it quietly. Although freaked out by this, they weren't as terrified as what they experienced only days later. Now, before showing this clip, it's worth noting that a common occurrence in this house is a broom that always falls over by itself. It usually happens at night, and it's always when it's in the dining room that it falls over. One night, Isaac waits patiently for the broom to fall again, when all of a sudden, this happens.
What's that? What happened?
Like many times before, the broom is on the ground, despite being placed initially upright against the wall. It seemingly falls by itself, or at least that's what Isaac thinks. He's been gone through every instance of the broom falling over, and not once has it occurred to him to check the security cameras around the house until recently. By checking, he can see how it keeps on doing this. So, he tells his aunt to send him some recordings from specific dates of the camera inside the dining room where the broom falls over. He checks each one and doesn't notice anything weird. But when he checks again, he notices something in one video that leaves him beyond spooked. This is what he saw.
What?
Isaac and his girlfriend were completely caught off guard upon seeing this. For sure, the broom falling on its own is creepy, but this is something out of a horror movie. A strange, dark figure stands at the
No, it's
window
not.
before disappearing into thin air. It's only there momentarily and gone when Isaac is present. But its disappearance wouldn't be the creepiest part about this, because according to the couple, this figure looks like a child. If that's the case, then this makes this next video even creepier. According to them, they may have found something to explain what they saw. Take a look.
So we found something that might explain what we last night. These
tiles, as they would later find out, are meant to honor those who passed away. In this case, it's meant to memorialize the two kids on the fireplace. However, neither the couple nor the aunt has any idea of who these kids are. She only knows that they used to live in this house over a century ago. Given all that's happened during their stay, the couple believe that a ghost was caught on camera, but more specifically, the ghost of one of these kids. If that's so, then this makes what was captured pretty freaky. But as with all videos, you be the judge. Was a ghost caught on camera? Or is there something that could explain all these occurrences? What are your
Nah.
thoughts on
It was a
this?
pigeon.
Now this next video was posted by a Reddit user who writes that the following video was taken back in 2020. He didn't take the video himself, but rather it was sent to him by his sister, who was at a hospital for reasons unknown. While she was there, she was waiting out in the hallway where no one else seemed to be present. It was just her, alone in this big empty hallway. Or at least that's what she thought. Because, as her family believes, she wasn't completely alone. In a video she posted to her family's group chat, something can be seen moving and peeking at the end of the hallway. Have a look.
Airflow. It's probably just a jacket. Where?
After checking to see what it was that was moving, she finds nothing. Now it's hard to say as to what exactly is being seen here, but many viewers on Reddit believe that it's something paranormal. Some can even make out a face, or even a body. But then again, that could be a case of pareidolia. However, it's the fact that something moves that makes it quite strange. From catching a lock of hair moving independently to the creepy atmosphere of the hallway, it's understandable as to why one would think that something paranormal is present. But as with all videos, I'll let you come up with your own conclusions. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on this.
These aren't scary.
If you caught something creepy on camera, or if there's any ghost videos in this next video, a young girl is playing in front of a display cabinet while her mother records her from a distance. Although seeming like a random recording, something about this moment holds a special place in the mom's heart. Amanda, the mother, isn't just recording a random cute moment, but instead, she's recording a heartfelt video in which her daughter plays with her mother's urn. The display cabinet holds the ashes of Amanda's mom, who passed away only a month ago, and it was just now that she saw her daughter talking to the urn inside. Understandably, Amanda was moved. During the time that Amanda took this video, she didn't notice anything strange. It was only after reviewing the footage that she saw it, a dark silhouette passing in front of the camera as her daughter plays in the distance. To Amanda, the supposed apparition wasn't completely unknown, as she had a feeling that this was her mother.
Dude, that's just
She
so
took it
big.
as a sign from her, letting her know that she's still there despite being physically gone. Although others think that something else was captured, she strongly believes that this had been her mother. But let me know what you think. Just what exactly was caught on camera? Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.
I'd rather not. I love analog horror.
This is an official broadcast from the District Behavioral Safety Department. Please remain calm. This message is intended for students only. If you are currently in a classroom, look around you. but do not make eye contact with anyone for more than 3 seconds. If someone near you is sitting completely still, blinking less than once per minute, or repeating their answers exactly word for word every time they're asked, report it silently to your administrator using Form S13. Do not confront them. Do not speak to them directly. And under no circumstances should you ask them if they're feeling off. We believe this started last Tuesday when a teacher at high school experienced what officials are calling a behavioral freeze. She reportedly did not blink for 72 hours. Students believed it was a challenge, a dare, but one student, name withheld, stared into her eyes too long. He changed later that day, not all at once. First, he started answering questions he wasn't asked. Then he sat motionless through the entire fire drill, even when smoke entered the room. By the end of the week, he was smiling during the math test. Not at anyone, just smiling. Yesterday, 3 more students in his class stopped blinking. We do not believe this is a virus. We do not believe this is a prank. This is a behavioral anomaly with visual triggers. The cause is unknown, but the pattern is spreading. If your classmate is already showing symptoms, do not panic. They will not harm you yet. But understand this, they do not know they are no longer human. They will continue to laugh at jokes, turn in homework, and even answer to their name. But you'll start to notice small things. Their handwriting changes. Their shoes are always perfectly clean. They never use contractions when speaking. These are not coincidences. These are integration errors. If your teacher asks you to make eye contact longer than 10 seconds, look away. If a student offers you a note written in red ink, do not read it. And if someone near you hasn't blinked since this broadcast began, it's already too late. This message will repeat every hour until they shut it off, or until it finds another viewer. End of transmission.
Huh. Cool. What about this one?
This is a classroom-specific broadcast. If you've seen our previous alert, the one about the teacher who didn't blink for 72 hours, this is not the same teacher. That incident was contained. This one is worse. If you are currently in class and your teacher has been standing still for more than 45 minutes, listen carefully. Do not panic. Do not speak. Do not draw attention to yourself. We are aware of the situation. Yes, they are still standing. Yes, they haven't moved since the first bell, and yes, they are not breathing. You may have convinced yourself they're just focused, just thinking, just tired. But you're wrong. Their chest isn't rising, their eyes haven't shifted, and they haven't blinked once since you walked in. They are not dead. They are not alive. They are just there. If they called your name and their mouth didn't move, stay silent. If the class has been quiet longer than it should be, but no one feels the need to speak, do not break the silence. Something has taken hold. We believe this phenomenon spreads through stillness, through mimicry, through absence. You may have already noticed students in the front row starting to match the teacher's posture, the same way they stood, the same tilt of the head, the same silence. They are not imitating, they're syncing. Check the clock in your room. Stop. Do your notes look like something you've already written? Good. That means you're still aware, but not for long. This entity doesn't want your attention. It wants your presence. To still you, empty you, and keep teaching as if nothing ever changed. Security footage shows no one entering the room this morning. And yet, when the bell rang, the teacher was already there, standing, watching, waiting. Do not make sudden movements. Do not pack your bag. Do not stand up unless instructed by this broadcast. This is not about breathing anymore. This is about forgetting you ever did. if you're watching this from outside the room, keep moving. If you're watching this from inside, you haven't moved in 7 minutes, and neither has she.
Huh. Cool, but not scary. That looks like AI. Vita Curtis! I love Vita Curtis. Dark. Oh,
And the astronauts are just like, bro, kind of embarrassed. Add more to it. Well,
watch
back.
this.
Today we're gonna look at things that make us feel really, really small until I just can't take it anymore. Brief note for any of my regular viewers: new background. Yay! I was
Yay.
experimenting with a different background last video because, as I mentioned in that video, I moved my setup to a different part of my apartment. And so I tried something that I really didn't like, and I tried to make it work, and I just scrapped it because I came up with a better idea. You know what? Let me just show you. I like it so far. I'll probably add more to it
Have you
as
seen
time
this
goes on.
man?
I get like more things, but I just want to put a bunch of like references to videos in the background. It's not perfect yet. I'll probably move stuff. I want to put more posters here, but I only had a magnet for one. But don't worry, guys. Bold and Brash is back due to popular demand. Enough chuckles. Let's jump into it. Let's look at stuff that makes us feel so small and so fragile until we start losing our minds a little bit, all right? Okay, here we go. That's how many Earths fit in Jupiter. That's how many Jupiters fit in the sun. I think they maybe did too many. That's not gonna fit. That's the sun compared to Stevenson 218. Okay, tell me it's over. There's not more, right?
These are
Oh, no, it
unfathomable
gets worse.
numbers.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah, the black hole. Ton 618, baby. That's as big as it gets, though. That's where it stops.
No.
It was pretty much too big right away. Like, this is a lot, man. I don't think they give us a number of how many Earths fit in Jupiter, but it looks like at least hundreds, right? And then how many Jupiters fit in the sun? I can't tell if they're saying all these will fit in here, or if they're just kind of like, I don't know, they're definitely spilling over. They're kind of making a little mess here. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but definitely hundreds, maybe even thousands, depending on what they're trying to imply here. And then, yeah, this sun right here, it's a tiny little dot compared to this sun. And then, obviously, as you know, that sun is a tiny little dot to the biggest black hole that we know of. Can't even say the biggest black
Didn't they
hole
find
that
another
exists.
one?
We can only say the biggest one we know of. Isn't that weird? That's kind of true of all this. We're like, oh yeah, this is the biggest star we know of. Over 2,000 times wider than our sun. And we can't even say for sure that's as big as it gets. Right? There could be bigger ones, as far as we know. And that makes me feel a little panicky. That's okay. Let's move on. Starting off with a big one here. Big one. Really good one. Starting off with a big one. They're all big ones. Everything in here today is big. Don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Let's do something a little bit different. An animation by Mr. Friend.
Wow.
Okay, some astronauts on the moon. Just checking out the Earth. Man, it's beautiful. I hope nothing bad happens to it. What's that purple flash? Oh, no. Wait, put that
Bro
back.
stole our
It's
moon.
yours.
Our Earth.
Dude, come on, man.
Why'd you steal it?
Yeah, all right. This one almost plays like a
Man.
comedy. Obviously, if you think about it, if you imagine this scenario in a real life sense, you kind of make it make sense in your head. Scary, of course, but this is almost comedic. A little hand just being like, I think I'll have that. Thanks. And the astronauts are just like, bro, kind of embarrassing to have your planet just grabbed right from under you like that, you know? Also, crazy bad luck to be on the moon when that happens. Like, people are not usually on the moon. Imagine during the specific moment that you're on the moon, your planet gets stolen. Anyway, let's get back to the serious stuff. Saturn's 200-kilometer wide moon, Janus, imaged by Cassini on September 25th, 2006. Yeah, man,
Janus.
this little corner of blue here does a lot for us, because this looks like just a solid color. But once you see the edge of it, you realize, oh, this is Saturn, and this is just a moon, which to me looks just like a rock. I mean, I know that's kind of what moons are, but our moon, I know I'm a little biased, but I think our moon is the best moon, and I'll explain to you why. Our moon, spherical, very, very uniform, very perfectly spherical. It's like a perfect ball. Sure, it's got some craters, Who doesn't? But this guy, look at him, all bumpy and craggy, and you couldn't roll this down a hill. This just looks so weird, especially knowing Saturn is a gas planet. So there's not like land here. You really are just looking at the surface of something you would still fall through, you know? But it's massive. The view from being on this would be insane. Imagine seeing this in every direction. I hope someday we get videos like that where we can send like little rovers around to get like videos from the surface of just random things. Like I would love to see a video from the surface
Okay, but stop yapping.
of some of these planets' moons. You know, just like driving around. What
I
would
wanna
you like
get
to be in that
scared.
kind of videos, you know, like little POV stuff. You know, just so we can freak out about it from home and be like, wow, we truly are insignificant and fragile. This is an annular solar eclipse, a rare type of eclipse where the shadow cast by the moon causes a ring of fire effect. Bro, that's not an eclipse, that's a
black
black
hole.
hole. On 618. That's crazy. Is that real? Why have I never seen this before? I don't know. After a little research, I couldn't find any more images of this like line across here. An annular solar eclipse is just when there's a ring around.
Annular?
It's not completely covering it, which is like, yeah, we know that. We know that that can happen. But they made me
Annual.
think that this like solar
Wait.
black hole warping line here was like a normal thing that happens, which I don't think it is, but
It's not.
we can say, hey, this is terrifying because it looks like a black hole. Dude, seeing a black hole just chilling up in space, like from your planet. I mean, in reality, we'd be dead before we got to the black hole because we would leave our spot in orbit. Unless, of course, our entire solar system was being pulled at a nice fixed rate where we were all moving together. You know, we were staying the same distance from the sun. Maybe we wouldn't even notice until it was too late. Saturn. We just saw Saturn from way closer. This is like a little bit underwhelming, not gonna lie. Like Saturn from a distance.
It's so
You know,
cute.
like seeing something we know is so big, looking like small and kind of far away. I don't know. It's like an inverse effect. Big things are scary when they're close up. But on the other hand, a big thing that you know how big it is, or at least you try to comprehend how big it is, looking kind of small in the vastness of something bigger, like space, the ultimate big thing, ominous. I'll say that much. Definitely ominous. Just chilling, man. Just watching. But it also looks kind of cool. There's
in the
something
background.
sweet about that. I do wish sometimes that the planets were just like a little bit closer to us, or rather that they could be closer to us, that we could see like the shape of them with the naked eye, because they're just the right distance, but they just look like big stars when we can see them. But imagine looking up there and seeing like the rings around the planets, like being able to tell. Maybe I don't wish that. Maybe that'd freak me out, but I think it would be cool. Here's a sort of low-res map of a supercluster called the Laniakea supercluster, essentially. Approximately 100,000 galaxies in this supercluster. And this dot, our galaxy, our sweet little galaxy, kind of at the tip of whatever this is. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is like obviously just a graphic. They didn't fly out there and turn around and take this photo. Although that would be kind of sick if you had to do that. I don't know what these lines represent. They look kind of like big, hairy space centipedes. I don't like that. I feel like I always say this, but there's a certain amount of size and numbers that it just doesn't even matter. Where it's like, oh yeah, 100,000 galaxies. Yeah, that's something I can comprehend. Like, I can comprehend how big the Earth is, you know? I can comprehend, based on that, like how big some of these other planets are. 100,000 galaxies in, not the universe, just the supercluster. That almost means nothing to me. If I think about it for long enough, I feel like I get close to comprehending it, but then I start feeling a little woozy. I feel like I might pass out. And that's not what I'm here to do today. We just started, so let's keep going. Footage of Earth from the ISS. Are there not windows inside the ISS? Why y'all always outside? This is like close to the maximum of what I can comprehend. Like looking at Earth from space. Like I know how big Earth is. I feel like I have a decent grasp of that. And then just looking back on it from like that distance away.
Like 3
as just,
pixels
like, a guy,
on
like, I
that
know
is like a
everything
solid
else we
mile.
look at today will probably be way bigger than the Earth, naturally. But somehow this is what gets me the most. Because I understand it. Dude.
Yeah.
Imagine just floating there looking down on the Earth. And then imagine,
floating.
like, you know, your rope snaps and you start drifting off into space. That's probably the most terrifying thing I can think of. Because you wouldn't die right away, but you know that you're going to. Very nice, though. Thanks for taking that video. Very cool.
But
I
you
don't
know you're
understand how
going
you can do
to.
that without having an
Me,
instant
when I know I'm gonna fail a math test, you haven't
the
failed
space
yet, but
station.
you know you're
Honestly,
going
being
to.
inside the space station, just being in space for like longer than a second. Like I have such a hard time sleeping in like a new hotel. Well, they're all new hotels to me, but sleeping in like a hotel or like at a friend's place or something, I have a hard time with that. Cause I'm like, this is like a new environment. My brain's like, hey, this is different. I want to be safe at home in my bed. There's zero chance I would sleep on a space station. Here we go. We've seen this one before. The small dot is Mercury in front of the sun. Yep, Mercury, that's a planet. Mercury is the smallest planet in our system. It's only like a little bit bigger than our moon, which, by the way, is the best moon. But the sun looks stupid big. We'll move on because we've seen this picture a bunch of times, but this is a great illustration of how big our sun is. The universe isn't that big. As if anyone's ever said that before. Oh yeah, you don't think so? Okay, punk. Dude. And now keep in mind, these aren't all just stars. These are like solar systems, right? There's stuff orbiting all these stars. Well, I don't know about all of them, but you know what I mean? Like, if they zoom in on a star, yeah, there you go. So there is a star with its own planets. And look, there we are, third from the sun. Isn't that nice? And there's our little moon. Yep. Now zoom in and show me. Is this Florida? Why would you zoom in on Florida? Yep, the universe is big, dude. POV, if the sun exploded, this will be fun.
It'll take
Sure
8
you
minutes.
smash subscribe and hit the notification bell? You better do it quick. You don't want to die with any regrets. Oof.